all work is self-generated, if you think about it. And I don't care how high up you go, there are actors at the height, and to be able to speak very quickly and clearly. And it doesn't just happen. Did you hear how we did that? Right, so you have to practice that. And a lot of actors think, whoa, I'm going to show them what I got when I get the chance. Then I'll train, and then I'll start practicing. And so let's pretend you're a swimmer and apply that same notion. We'll leave it at that. Keep working.
All right, you've heard it 4 times already, but never stop learning. We should all write that on our bathroom mirror. Like I said, I started acting because I thought I wasn't a great singer, but when I started acting, it was like every role I ever got required some singing. And then I eventually got cast in the musical Rent. And after that, one musical, every director in town thought I was a singer. So I, challenged myself to become more confident and more skilled at being a singer so that it wouldn't be something that would hold me back. And I try to apply that to anything that I fear. I try to tackle it and learn about it. And in any whatever your craft is, you should always be learning your craft until the day you die. The day you don't need to learn anything more about acting is when you should probably start maybe just directing or something. But and also learn your industry, whatever you're doing, because as he mentioned before, it's called show business. And a lot of people, particularly people who get off the Greyhound in Hollywood, they want to be movie stars, and they don't understand that there's a whole industry and a certain way things work. For example, there are like 3 major agencies in Hollywood, and they represent all the directors, the screenwriters, the actors, everybody. And when somebody sells a screenplay, it's usually sold as a package deal by one of these major agencies. So all the lead roles are cast, all the second lead roles are cast with the artists that they want to make, more prominent. And like what's left for everybody else, all the millions of other actors out there are, a lot of smaller roles. And so, as important as it is to be taking acting classes always and learning to be a better actor, it's the case in any industry. It's important to be networking and politicking and, getting your feet in the door, making your name recognizable and your presence desired.
So in this industry, sometimes you have a lot of choices and sometimes you have few choices, but you always have choices about how you're spending your energy. And as you're making life choices, whether it's career choices or directions to navigate this creative realm, talk about how you make those choices and how you, do you bounce it off anybody, or do you just go with your gut? Do you take every job that comes to you? Are you extremely selective? Give us some insight on how you make decisions. So we'll start over there.
As far as acting, it's just really as soon as I moved to Sacramento, like a world of opportunities opened up for me. And I now, for the first time in my life, I get a lot of offers. I'm already cast in 3 shows for next year. And so in the beginning, it was really difficult because you do want to say yes to everybody and everything because these are all the opportunities you've ever wanted. But you got to be really careful because, in theater, you got to consider, the theater you're working with, the director. Are you going to learn from this director? Are these actors you're working with, are they going to be reliable? And so you do have to turn down a lot of things based on not just this is a dream role, but you know, is this going to help me be better or further my career in some kind of a way? And I usually, it's really funny because I'm majoring in theater right now, so I'm required to read plays and see plays, and so I do so more than I ever did before, but I still haven't read as many plays as a lot of people that I know who are involved in theater, so oftentimes I'll get an email or a phone call or offer for a role. Like one time I was backstage doing a show, and I just had to ask all the other actors backstage, you know, do you know this show? Do you know this role? What do you think? And they were like, you should do it. And so I say yes without knowing anything about it. But fortunately, I could trust these guys, and it was a good choice. But I often tend to, I'll go to Google and try to research as much as I can about the part, the play, or the production, or the theater. We live in the age of information, so we're very fortunate with that. But I also always call my friends that I really trust, and I'll ask them because it's a little easier than reading a whole play. But you have to really be able to trust the people, otherwise you have to hunt them down for the rest of your life.
Your friend does your homework. So that's a great question, Ed. And there's two sides perhaps to it. I like to think that things are as simple as to have only two sides. Let's pretend. It's really simple, right? So let's talk about money. If you're trying to be a professional actor, I'm speaking specifically of Sacramento, and it hasn't changed much in the 20 years since I've stepped aside to become a professional teacher, but you're making a decision to go after the money first because you have to. And so you're going to be aiming at commercials. You're going to be aiming at corporate videos. If you've ever seen one, perhaps in your place of work, there are these people who say like, hello, Jim, there seems to be a problem in human resources, or whatever it is, right? And people have to learn how to get by, and it's good money, but it's not artistically satisfying. So one way to go is to just commit and say, I want to make my money off of this. I want to be able to fill out my taxes at the end of the year and say, actor! And that'll be very satisfying to me, right? Or you can go about trying to craft your career very specifically to yourself. And this is what I would suggest to most people. Get into a commercial if you can and take the money, because it's great. I once made $32,000 in one day. And that was a long time ago, right? So that probably was more now. So there are these satisfying moments, but mostly it was just, $300 here, and I made the rent, that kind of thing for quite a bit of the time. If you have your own resources, you can start to think, do I want to do that role? Do I want to work with Ed Fletcher? What's my next move in order to move me forward specifically to myself? And so with that, and this is going to be the long answer here, my first suggestion to any new actor, I'll say young, but new to it, is to really get specific about your goal. What is your goal? We think, I want to be an actor. And that means one thing and one thing only, go to Hollywood and be a movie star. And the statistics show that I wish you well. All of you. And you're all going to be movie stars. Or you can really get real about it and say, I want to be an actor. And I definitely want to make my living at it someday. But in the meantime, what can I do to start putting the bricks down, the foundational bricks of being seen and perceived by the community at first, and then the industry, as Pamela Finney was just beginning to crack open, to be that gal. And she was that close to being that gal. And she was ready for it, and she was trained for it. And so that would be my suggestion. Just get specific in your life and say, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a commercial actor? Take the money. And there's nothing wrong with being all of it, but if you're just if you're waiting by the phone and hoping to make your rent, it does limit your choices of artistically choosing that project. It allows you to work for free if you have a day job, if the schedule allows. And you can grow more quickly.
I just wanted to say something else because what Rick said was so important. I think it's probably the most important thing is because you do have to very specifically define your own idea of success or your career goal. Yes, because so many people, they just know they want to be famous, or they want to be a star, or they want to be rich, or whatever the case may be. But that was a really life-changing moment for me when I realized that this is what I want to do. You know, I don't want to be Tom Cruise or Will Smith. You know, I just love to perform on stage. I could do that for the rest of my life. It doesn't have to be Broadway or Carnegie Hall, you know. Just give me a small little black box theater to perform in, you know. And once I realized that, and I was okay with that, I realized I'm already living my dream, and I'm getting the type of opportunities that I dream of, because otherwise your mind is always thinking the goal is out there, when really you're really in your moment sometimes without even knowing it. So get very specific about your idea of what success is.
I'll say 10,000 hours. You know that term?
We're
10,000
gonna
hours.
start taxing these guys.
Yeah, these are
for the extra
10,000
mic time.
hours. These overnight successes, check their careers. 10,000 hours later.
So I am so curious, like I said previous, so I should maybe narrow down my goals, but right now I don't even know what my possibilities are. So I am roping myself out. I'm putting my lasso out there and seeing what hooks and what feels good. And I feel confident in approaching new things because I love what I do, and I teach myself, dedicate myself to it. So when I bring on new challenges, I'm all for it. So know your worth, know what you put yourself into, know what you dedicate yourself to, be honest with yourself, and keep working on it, because then you can approach new things and push yourself out of your comfort zone, step out of your little square a little bit, and when you feel good, trust your gut, like I've said before. And in doing that for me, because I go from like film to theater, which was really big for me, and then singing to serious, and then doing roles that I may question, or doing roles that I hold dear, like I had to play someone with a disability, and that was, I took that to heart. Like, what would it really be like to be blind? So I don't stop. I just love what I do. And right now I'm just experiencing and experimenting with doing different commercials, or doing things on TV, or being a reporter, or being a singer, or being on film too. I don't really stop. I kind of just, I'm curious at the moment, which is a benefit of being here in the Sacramento area. There's a lot to do here. There's a lot of people to know, and a lot of people who are passionate about what they do in all different facets. I'm very blessed to say that I know people from so many different regards, and I trust them. I see their worth as well, and I know that they see me, so we build a cool partnership and a good dynamic. Like, I can tell, I feed that fire with them, and it excites me, and I'm absolutely dedicated. And I like working with people who I can trust as well, and you build it, and you get a good product out of it. So that has been something I loved being here in Sacramento. Thank you.
I think to kind of piggyback off of what Ed Fletcher said about how do you distinguish having multiple things that you want to do, or things that you're good at? How do you zone those in to attack each one, or to choose which one to act in at the time? I guess for me, I am multi-talented. I've been given the gift of God to be multi-talented. So I wear many hats. And so I guess if I want to be specific about modeling in my music, I learned that, I chose to be a model, and I chose to be a singer, but to learn the business aspect of it as well. And everybody don't understand or try to pick that part first. They just try to, I want to be a singer, so I'm just going to go out there and sing, or I'm just going to get as many shows as I can, or get people to like me. But for me, I found that, and what I've learned is if I can't get the resources that I need from other people at the time to just do as much research as I can and to go out and get the resources to teach myself. And so that way you don't get taken advantage of. You don't run into these situations where you don't know what's coming at you. And so I've been mindful enough to go and find the things that I can do to educate myself with my craft. So, and that being said, with my modeling, I don't know. I just try to take one thing at a time for me and try to do that as best as I can, and to just do that as best as I can. I guess I'm losing train of thought. I'm talking. Things is going through my mind. Like, say that. Say yeah. It just makes you think. But yeah, I just do the best that I can with what I have and try to encourage along the way, and to actually, with the challenges and the things that I've learned and the experiences that I have, I try to help someone along the way who's on the same journey as me. And yeah, I have fun. I have fun in doing what I do. And it wasn't always like this. You know, it wasn't always, it's not always a walk in the park, you know. And so, like I said earlier, you just have to roll with the punches sometimes and do the best that you can to keep yourself encouraged.
Okay. Speaking of it not being a walk in the park, my team and I were looking for money, and that sort of brings us to this the heavy stuff, sexual harassment, and thinking about Harvey Weinstein and Louis C.K. And I was talking to a friend last night, and I was mentioning, like, if somebody was going to offer me a lot of money and said, meet me at my hotel room, would you go? And I'm thinking to myself, as a man, somebody says, meet me in the hotel room. If it's a big suite, maybe I go. If he comes out and he's in the shower, or he's like, hey, I'm still showering, like, okay, I need to get out of there. But it all stems from you wanting to really make it really bad. And this person has the power to put you in that role, or to help your career, or write the big check to make it happen. And I wanted to talk about what your advice for people is to stay out of situations like that, and prevent yourself from being hurt, or anyone from being manipulated.
Get the money first. The truth about casting couches is, if somebody just wants to have sex with you, they're not going to want to see you at work every day after that. So make a decision based on that. But you know, it's funny because, like, hearing all these stories now, it's really weird, because looking back in hindsight, it was very common to be, you know, have auditions and stuff in hotel rooms. So it's like, it feels weird to hear all these stories, because it's like, oh, that was just, you know, a Tuesday, you know. But I think it's different. Well, it's obviously different for men, because we don't feel so vulnerable, like somebody's going to physically attack or restrain us. But, you know, it's, unless the people in the positions of power do something about it, there's really not much that can be done, because you've heard stories about people who remove themselves from the situation and call their agent. And I just read one girl just yesterday, her agent said, I wasn't sure whether or not he'd be your type, you know. So it's like, it's not so much that it was a secret thing, it was just a thing that just seemed normal to everybody for so long, until now. And so you do want to, no matter what, no job, I mean, unless, you know, it is worth it to you, but if you really want to be taken seriously and have your integrity intact, then no job and no amount of money is worth that sacrifice, because 9 times out of 10, if somebody's just promising you, I can get you work, you're never going to hear from them again. Just like you don't hear from the guy that took you out to dinner and told you he was going to marry you and, you know, make you the happiest woman in the world. So if you're going to make those kinds of transactions, get it in writing, get the money up front.
So it's a business. So they audition you and they choose you because of that, and then they have to answer to their superiors for why you got cast. And if you can't do the job and you aren't good enough, they're going to get in a lot of trouble. So you didn't have to sleep with that person in the first place. You were going to get the job anyway. That's one. And then and I'm going to be concise, I will. I'm verbose. I love words. But historically, Hollywood's been set up where it's the few against the many. This is incredible dream that we all call living the dream, right? But there's only one doorway, and it's Hollywood. This is historical. And they have big cameras that cost a lot of money, and only they can do that. It's a magic trick, right? Good for them. And so we all had to go in that one door and hope that it was us and maybe deal with the guy. Well, me too. I want to say me too. And some of you know what I mean. Right? So now we have digital cameras. And now we have equipment in our hands and we don't need them as much anymore. And I think that's why you're starting to see this turnaround. Something huge is happening in the universe, I think. Well, it's certainly in Hollywood. They're waking up and going like, we can't do this anymore. Dude, me too. Yeah, me too on the other side. They're all checking their ways and maybe things are going to change. Great news.